In the last module, we learned some base information about anger, including what it is, misconceptions, causes, how to identify whether it's a problem, and we increased your overall awareness of the prevalence of anger through sharing some statistics. Hopefully, you also reflected on what some of your personal and specific triggers are, because this information is going to be important as we move through the duration of the course. In order to get the most value out of this course, I'd encourage you to go back and do those reflections now if you haven't already. In this module, we're going to learn about how those triggers spark the anger response in your brain, which ultimately creates the physical sensations we feel when we get angry, and these are often overlooked. This information is important to understand because if we know what's going on physically in our brain and body when we get angry, it makes our anger easier to manage and control. Let's get started. So when we get angry, there's a complex process of chemical reactions that take place, which creates a chain reaction of physical responses within our body. So this typically starts with an identifiable triggering event. Understanding the details about what's happening within our body when we get angry can help us to feel more in control of our anger and recognize the signs that it may be reaching an elevated level. So like we said, the anger response always starts after something triggers it. So from that list of causes we discussed in the previous module, I'm sure that you can now think about which ones generally trigger your anger response. It's that first spark of anger that activates the region of the brain known as the amygdala, which is a component of the brain that is thought to play an important role in emotion and behavior before we're even aware of it. The amygdala then sends a signal to activate the hypothalamus, which is the component of the brain that is involved in the control of the body's temperature and energy, as well as daily activity functioning, memory, and stress control. Then the hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland using a hormone called CRH, which is a corticotropin releasing hormone. The pituitary gland then activates the adrenal glands by releasing another hormone called ACTH, or adrenocorticotropic hormone. This triggers the adrenal glands, which sits on top of the kidneys, to secrete stress hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. Higher levels of cortisol cause neurons in the brain to accept too much calcium, which causes them to die. Specifically, two areas of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, are particularly vulnerable. Suppressed activity in the prefrontal cortex prevents you from using your best judgment and keeps you from making good decisions and planning for the future. Whereas suppressed activity in the hippocampus weakens short-term memory and prevents you from forming new memories properly. So can anyone relate to feeling like they blacked out after being angry or not being able to remember the points you wanted to get across in an argument? This is actually biological and something is going on in your body. So the stress hormones released when you become angry can cause immediate physical symptoms in your body, such as tingling, heart palpitations, or tightening of chest, increased blood pressure, headaches, pressure in the head or sinus cavities, increase in body temperature, and fatigue. So when these stress hormones are released too frequently, they can cause long-lasting physical damage to the body, such as cardiovascular issues, which is increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, tensed up arteries, rise in blood glucose levels, and rise in blood fatty acid levels. It can cause immune system issues. So with the thyroid, which is the hormone gland that regulates body functioning, it won't work as well. There's a number of natural killer cells that decrease, which are the ones that help us aid in immunity. There's a number of virus-infected cells that increase, and the overall risk of cancer rises. It can lead to digestive issues, so blood flow decreases, metabolism increases, dry mouth increases, and it can lead to issues with eyesight. So intraocular pressure increases, and the quality of eyesight decreases overall. So when these symptoms become chronic, it puts strain on the blood vessels, which cause them to become clogged or damaged. This can lead to stroke and heart attacks. So as you can see in the overall picture, anger is way more involved than just a feeling that we get when a problem or situation arises. It's a complex chain of physiological reactions that literally changes the brain and causes all sorts of negative ramifications. If you take anything away from this module, it should be that anger is intimately linked to the body and overall health, which is why learning how to manage it now in a preventative way can increase your overall health and prevent greater problems from arising in the future.